very much, Jackie, and thank you to Jonathan and Craig from the IPPR for inviting me to speak to you all this afternoon. I'd like to talk this afternoon about beginnings, about my own beginnings within the field of social work, and about the beginning of Think Ahead as a new starting point for entrance into the profession. Leaving home for the first time to go to university is a really important beginning for many of us. So I'm going to start almost 13 years ago as I travel up to Cambridge University as an excited fresher. Excited, but intimidated as well, by the beautiful buildings imbued with a sense of history and intellectual discovery, by the exhaustingly knowledgeable lecturers, and even by the other students, many of whom, I subsequently learned, had travelled to the city on that day feeling the same exhilarated terror. My next beginning comes 4 years later, as I take up a place on an MA social work programme. In some ways, it was a straightforward decision to move on to train as a social worker following my undergraduate degree, having been involved in voluntary work with various community organisations along the way. Having said that, a friend recently reminded me that I was really anxious about telling people close to me that I planned to be a social worker, to the extent that I kept it secret from quite a few people for quite a long time. Social work wasn't a career that other people around me at Cambridge were moving into, and my decision certainly evoked a few raised eyebrows from family, friends and lecturers, anxious about what I might be letting myself in for. But I believed that I might have something to offer the profession, and I felt that it in turn could offer me what I wanted from my career: responsibility in the truest, most serious sense of the word, intellectual challenge, and a strong basis in values and ethics to which I could sign up wholeheartedly. So a couple of years down the line, my next beginning, my first social work job in a local authority team in northwest London, supporting older people, many of whom had a mental health diagnosis. And what I remember most clearly from those first weeks and months is my growing awareness of the awesome responsibility that I'd taken on, the duty and authority invested in my profession, in me, by society, to protect and empower its most vulnerable. Social work is a challenge to that vulnerability, a belief that people can and should enjoy decent life chances, even if they've experienced abuse or disability or mental ill health. And whether I was putting together packages of care to keep people living in their own homes for as long as possible, defying terminal illness or cognitive decline, undertaking assessments of mental capacity to determine whether people with impaired cognition could take specific decisions for themselves, or investigating allegations that vulnerable adults in the community were experiencing abuse or neglect. In that role, I made the dizzying discovery that my social work interventions could have a real and visible and immediate impact on real people. People who would sit in front of me and look to me for help finding solutions about the things that mattered the most to them. Fast forward 6 years, and I'm beginning again, taking up a new role in a mental health trust. Working in an integrated service has been a revelation for me, and I've learnt so much for being part of a diverse, committed, multidisciplinary team of health and social care professionals. Not that that's always an easy process. You all will be familiar with the difficulties inherent in integrated working, as well as the spectacular benefits that can ensue for those whom we support when it works well. I suppose one reason why I've chosen to share all those snapshots from my education and career with you is that they all relate to decisions that I'm really happy with. I'm proud of what I achieved academically, but I'm also glad and thankful for my career, and I hope that I've been able to effectively help and support those with whom I've worked. Equally, I'm very aware that any contribution I've made to their lives is by far outweighed by what I've learned and gained from those encounters. Social work has changed me and shaped my identity and beliefs, and that's a tremendous privilege. And of course, I didn't have a clue about any of that in the autumn of 2001 as I arrived at Cambridge as a naive 17-year-old. But writing this presentation, I've had the chance to reflect a bit on all those beginnings that I've described and about how they fit together in a way that wasn't necessarily obvious at the time. My MA Social Work course prepared me for the realities of the profession. Of course it did, with its emphasis on theory, social work skills and methods, the statutory basis, and my practical experience gained on placement. But so too did my time at Cambridge. The intellectual rigour and the variety of ideas to which I was exposed during my time studying there, the big questions about morality and philosophy that were part and parcel of my degree, the expectation that my written work would be expressed with clarity and precision, the opportunity to work with amazing people, to teach and learn from them, and the priority given to evidence-based practice. I draw on those experiences every day at work, and that period of my life, perhaps just as much as my vocational training, still provides a bedrock for my social work practice. So being here today, talking to you all about Think Ahead, is a bit of a mission for me, as it's something that I feel incredibly strongly about. Mental health social work is unique. It's among the most challenging, the most skilled, and the most important jobs that we have. And it will only become the more so. You will all be familiar with the demographic and economic issues explored in this IPPR report that continue to lead to an increased demand on secondary mental health services. Mental health social work needs brilliant, extraordinary, resilient, compassionate, creative, smart people, and it always will do. And I sincerely believe that some of those people are studying at our best universities at the moment, wondering where they can direct their energy, their passion, and their desire to make a difference. Others are a few years out of university, looking for something more fulfilling to do with their working lives than the activities they're currently engaged in. I want so much for them to be involved with this programme. I want to invite them in and to tell them about what my colleagues and I do every day, to let them know about the highs and lows, the rigours and compensations of social work. I'd like to show them how social work can be such a rewarding career, although that's something of a truism, as is the assertion that it's a difficult job. But it's both of these dimensions of social work that make it the career it is. Social workers show up to work every day because of the difficulties they face, not in spite of them. And then I want the Think Ahead participants to learn my job for themselves through the programme that IPPR has sketched out in this report. It will be hard work for them, acquiring the skills and knowledge they need to support people affected by mental ill health through varied practice placements and intensive academic study. And it will be hard work for our services as well, necessitating a real commitment to high quality practice education for these new entrants to the profession. But it will be so worth it. I can see how the Think Ahead participants will be as qualified workers. I can see them working with people to achieve change or recovery or stability in their lives. And there are so many paths that they could take in the fullness of time, leading by example through outstanding practice in community mental health teams, training as approved mental health professionals, or practice educating the next generation of social workers. But equally, I can see how they'll contribute to shaping the profession itself, crafting with their colleagues a strong social work voice within integrated mental health teams, challenging and learning from colleagues from other professions to the benefit of all those who use mental health services. I hope that in the future, a few years down the line, when others ask these Think Ahead participants about how they got into social work, about their journey to the profession via this programme, they'll be as proud and excited as I am today to talk about their social work beginnings. Thank you.